I'm a firm believer in that one of the most important choices someone can make in their life is choosing who they're going to surround themselves with. And by that I mean friends. Friends are important, they're hard to deal with, they are difficult sometimes, and they can be the best thing that ever happened to you. You know, as people, we are social creatures. We depend on each other for things, and I believe that that's a good thing, because look at what humanity has been able to accomplish with said friendships, right? But there can always be the wrong friendships. There's going to be friendships that don't last. There's going to be friendships that are not good or healthy for you, because not all people are good and healthy. Not all people can handle being a good friend. And it's sort of one of those things that you don't know until you experience it, right? You won't know if your friend is good until you make the friend, until you have shared some moments with this person or done things with them. This whole topic comes actually from the comment section. I don't remember where this comment came from, but I screenshotted it a while ago. And this guy Pablo said, "I'd like to speak with some of my friends from early childhood. I'm worried that we won't have anything in common anymore, but it's safe to say that I miss them." And this is a very interesting thing, because the exact thing happened to me many, many years ago. A little secret that I don't tell people about myself on this channel is that I'm not actually born and raised in the United States of America. I actually moved from my home country at the age of 15 years old to eventually go to college in America and pursue the quote-unquote American dream. Back in my home country, I used to have a group of friends, and this group of friends are still to this day the best friends I ever made in my life. Like, they're still my ride or dies, even though I haven't seen a couple of them in 2 years, I think, at this point. The friend group consisted at the time of, I would say, 3 or 4 people. 4 people if I include myself. And of those 4 people, one of them is no longer our friend. And the irony is that particular friend had actually been my, I don't want to say best friend, but I want to say my closest friend from the time that I was in elementary school. Now, this friend of mine was a very hot-headed, very closed-minded individual, but he was fun to hang out with, and honestly, there weren't that many other options. I'm not going to lie. I was in a school where the graduating class in elementary school was 16 kids, 6 of which were boys, including myself, so 5 choices to make. And the other 4 choices weren't honestly that great. I'm not going to lie to you. The other 4 choices were not that great. So as someone who's from a small town with not many kids in his grade, and not really a big transfer in friendships between grades unless you had family friends for some reason. I don't even know the math of that realistically. Anyway, this friend, while I was in elementary school and middle school even, was fine because we were from the same town. We had things in common because of the fact we were from the same town, and neither of us had really seen the world. And this friend was fine for the most part, but one thing that was unique about him is that we used to have arguments a lot. And I don't tend to have arguments with friends. In fact, I don't think I've really ever had an argument with a friend, like an actual, I don't want to talk to you for 3 days, like ever. And you might want to say that, maybe that's because I'm not confrontational. If you ask the people that surround me, you would know that I am a confrontational person. I do not steer away from confrontation. Unless I don't care enough about it, that is. So anyway, I would have a lot of arguments with this guy, and we would often be in just this state of just, hey, you're annoying me, I don't want to talk to you today. Which is a very strange thing to me. I never knew that wasn't normal until the friendship kind of had a fallout. And, I guess it is probably normal to an extent. I can't say that it's not at all normal. But personally, I don't like that. I don't like to have to deal with that level of drama on a daily basis, right? And that didn't happen with the other 2 friends in the friend group. Didn't happen at all, actually, now that I think of it. I think I might need to make a temporary farm. Fast forward to the point where I moved from my home country. When I came back to my home country almost a year later, I found that I had nothing in common with the people from that town, because I had experienced a whole different world and a whole different set of things I liked and didn't like. Now, mind you, I was in high school. By high school, most kids and people don't experience much outside of their hometown. That's not the time when you have your transformative years, as you know. Experiencing another culture, another country, another place is one of the most important things, I believe, for someone to transform their way of thinking and their way of life, and just to figure out who they really are. And I got to experience that at a much younger age than most. And something that I learned very quickly is that when I went back to that hometown of mine and started talking to my friends again, I realized how uninterested I was to speak to them, right? Entirely uninterested. And this happened because the only thing they talked about were things that they knew about in that town. They hadn't experienced another part of the world yet like I had. And I realized how, wow, people really are just what we've experienced. And it's a hard pill to swallow. It's a very hard pill to swallow when you're someone that came from a middle of the nowhere town, not being able to talk to the middle of nowhere people anymore because you experienced life more than them. And it's not their faults, right? I'm not faulting them for not having experienced anything. Of course, they're in high school. They don't know. But then I started realizing that there's certain people that, even the ones that were older and older generations that didn't understand a lot of things about life outside that town. And this irked me. It irked me a lot because I didn't know that this was going to be a problem. And back to my friend group, the other two friends were very interested with the fact that there was a difference of opinion, there was a difference of culture, there was something new to talk about. We were all so excited to just compare and contrast. And of course that kept going, especially as we grew up and we all started experiencing more of the world, and we were all still interested with what each other had to say. On the other hand, the other friend, I'm going to call him Jake, never really came out of that. He stayed very close-minded. He stayed in that town, kind of went and traveled a bit, but didn't really care. He liked what he liked, and he didn't really want to adapt or talk about anything different or new, just the same old gossip of the town. Now, there are many reasons why I had a falling out with Jake, many reasons that I'm not going to get into, but the main one that I think that really happened was we really weren't compatible as people, as friends, because we kind of liked the same things. We kind of were decent with each other, but we didn't have enough things in common to sustain a friendship. We didn't have enough things in common to say, look, I have the same ideas and ideologies and philosophies and whatever. And you don't have to have all that to have a friend. You could also be very opposite with a friend of yours. You could also just entirely disagree on things, and that's fine too. But with this guy, it was not even a disagreement. It was just that there wasn't an intellectual level for us to even have a conversation about the things we disagreed about. We talked about the same three things: girls, games, and the town gossip. And I couldn't stand the town gossip. Games are, I could talk to anyone about games. And girls, it's like, okay, dude, how many times a day can I talk about it? How many times a day can I talk about the girl you think is in love with you? And there was a lot more. There's certain things that he did. There were certain, ways he treated us, the other three friends in the friend group, that made all three of us say, look, we don't want to deal with this guy anymore. And I'm here to tell you that it's okay to have that realization. I'm here to tell you, Pablo, specifically, that it's okay to go back to your friends in your early childhood and realize that you have nothing in common with them anymore. It's okay to go back and say, okay, I hung out with you guys one last time. You guys are not the people that I want to surround myself with. You need to do that because otherwise you stay behind in life. You stay in a place where you started. You don't evolve. You don't change. You don't become better for yourself and for the people around you. And as far as the people around you, some of them can be changed, right? Some of them who want change and want to be different and understand where you're going in life and maybe want to accompany you in that part of your life, those are the ones you keep around, the ones that are willing to adapt to you. And on the same length, you have to be willing to adapt to other people. And if you're not willing to make an adaptation to those people, then I guess those people aren't right for you and you're not right for them. In fact, I have an example of Jake's lack of adaptation and why we stopped wanting to hang out with him. So Jake was one of those people that for some reason couldn't understand the concept of people don't like your music and we don't want to hear it all the time. And I think this was actually the turning point for me. I think this little thing was the straw that broke the camel's back for me. He would play this type of wannabe gangster rap in my native language that sucked ass. Nobody in the friend group liked it. And that's fine. You don't have to like the same music as people. However, when people just can't stand your music, just don't blast it, And he would blast it all the time. while we would game, like we would be playing Minecraft, and he would decide to blast his music. But he wouldn't put it in his headphones. He would put it on a speaker while he talked to us on headphones. And every time we asked him nicely to, dude, this is annoying. Can you not blast this music? He would always shrug and make a face and kind of turn it down. But we could always just still fucking hear it. And it got to the point where we were like, dude, I don't want to play with him because he keeps doing this. That's what I mean by the whole adaptation thing. You have to be willing to make sacrifices and adapt. If the whole friend group is telling you, look, dude, we're getting annoyed because you just refuse to respect our wishes with your blasting of music, obviously you have a problem. Obviously you don't think it's important enough for your friendship to stop doing a certain behavior. And if you're one of those people who just wants to die on the hill that they're on, right? That's fine, by the way. You don't have to just do whatever your friends tell you to. But you have to also be willing to accept the consequences of your actions. So if your friends are begging you to do something because it irritates them and the change probably wouldn't make that big of a difference for you, and you still don't do anything about it, chances are they're going to start not liking you and start not inviting you to things, start not talking to you. And that's eventually what happened with him. And it happened to him many times over, with many different friend groups. Because he just simply did not care. He didn't want to compromise in the slightest. That's a very important trait, by the way. Compromise is a very important trait in friends, relationships, girlfriends, boyfriends, all of that stuff. One of the most important things. And when you hit the point where you can't compromise, that's when things start going downhill. But I hope that answers your question. And I hope this was informative in some way. I feel like I kept way too much from the story to really give you the full scale. But just know, right? Just pick your friends wisely. Pick people that don't waste your time. Pick people that have your best interests at heart, and also be a good friend to them. A friendship goes both ways. You can't have one without having the other. Good night, and good luck.